Now, authorities say they've finally made some progress fighting the infernos. That's such good news. Firefighters have prevented the spread of the Eaton fire near Pasadena, although this is the key here. It still remains uncontained. Mayor Karen Bass says air operations, you just heard that from Nick, have led to significant progress in Hollywood. She says the evacuation order there has now been lifted, and the smaller Woodley fire has been fully contained at 12 hectares. Brian Rice is the president of California Professional Firefighters. I thank you for joining us. I cannot imagine what your members have been through right now. Can you give us some insight as to what they're facing to come in the next few hours? And if you believe that containment will be significant enough as we get a break in these winds to really try and get ahead of these fires?
I think what you can expect to see from the firefighters, one, the men and women right now are into this fire by at least 72 hours plus. They're not going to be taking a break until the wind truly breaks. You're going to see them through the morning and the afternoon build as strong a containment lines as they can, but they're preparing for the wind to pick up later today. And until the Santa Anas move all the way through, I don't expect to see real containment numbers until the wind dies down. And, as we look at this fire, if you look back in the history of California, for me, this is comparable to the 1906 earthquake in California. And the level of catastrophe and disaster here is high. And there's one reason that we're seeing a fire this ferocious. It's the weather, and the number one piece in the weather is the wind. This is a wind-driven fire that no matter how many firefighters you put in front of it, until the wind breaks, you're not going to stop it.
It certainly just seems so futile at times. We saw our own correspondents and people just were having trouble standing up at times. Just the wind was so ferocious. You're talking about trying to fight a fire in a hurricane force winds. What are some of the challenges now, though, that perhaps could have been, planned for? I mean, Nick Watt was talking about the fact that these hydrants have run dry. I mean, is there anything that you see that could have been done better, even though we perfectly realize that the firefighters themselves, as you said, they're still out there. They were on the job from the moment this started.
I think there's some things right now. Emotions are high, and everybody wants answers, and I fully understand that. But here's something that we should all think about. Our water systems, they were not designed to handle this kind of a catastrophe. And what I want you to think about is think about a neighborhood with 200 homes in it, and you have a fire front coming to it. Many of these homes in the Palisades, they've prepared for this type of fire for years. Homeowners put sprinklers out, they do things to impede the approach of the fire. Then they get the evacuation call. A fire like this is so big that you can't necessarily have firefighters on every fire, but a fire moves through, a home burns down, and all of the sprinklers and the pipes in the homes that have burned down fail. So you have a bunch of open water mains, just free flowing water. Add into that, 20, 30, 40 fire engines trying to pump off of a fire hydrant, and the system doesn't have the pressure nor the capacity to withstand it. And what I really want people to understand is the water that comes out of your faucet at home, whether it's your kitchen faucet or the inside faucet to flush your toilet, to brush your teeth, to take a shower, that's the same water that comes out of the fire hydrant. And it's not just necessarily the fire that failed, it's the plumbing system in the individual homes. If it's a gravity-fed system, in areas it's going to have an electrical component to open and close valves. If it's an electrically pumped system, fire impinges and makes everything fail. It makes the electrical infrastructure fail, it makes the communication infrastructure fail, and it affects the water supply system too. And I know that our elected leaders and officials are going to look at everything. It is too soon to cast blame or try to find responsibility. Right now, for me as the president of California Firefighters, I have thousands of men and women on the line, and they are moving and working hard to get Californians out of harm's way. That is our focus right now. And I think what we're going to see with this, it's like any disaster, there are always failures. The job is what worked, what didn't work, fix it. If there was a break in the system or a weakness in the system, identify it and fix it. But right now, the most important thing people can do, and you guys touched on it, if you don't live in the area, stay out. If you're within an evacuation zone, be prepared. Know where your pets are, know where your kids are, have your valuables ready to go. But the biggest part of it is don't breathe that smoke. It is a
Hmm.
toxic soup, and it's very dangerous for firefighters. We don't even have the technology yet to have wildland or urban interface respiratory protection. We do for
Hmm.
structural fires. It's very cumbersome, and you can't move around in a neighborhood setting with that kind of gear on. And the community's breathing the same smoke that we are, and it is carcinogenic. The International Agency on Cancer Research has named firefighting a cancer-causing occupation, and we see that in the number of firefighter deaths. So my big caution for folks: don't go sightseeing. If you can smell the smoke, you're
Hmm.
breathing the smoke, and it's dangerous for you. Stay out of it.
Yeah, in
Um,
fact, yeah, in fact, the air quality in the area was some of the worst on the planet in the last 24 hours. Brian, I have to ask you that obviously firefighters, first responders, they go to this and they are heartbroken with every structure home that they can't save. What are some of them going through on a personal level right now? Because a lot of them will have family members that have been evacuated or maybe about to be evacuated, or even unfortunately homes, businesses that were lost.
we have firefighters on the front line right now that have lost homes in the Palisades fire area. We're working to get those identified. The California Fire Foundation, I'm also the president of the state union, but the chair of the foundation. We work hard in the community, not just to provide community relief, but also support firefighters and their families. And there's a big effort going on. What are they going through? We're firefighters. We don't lose. We don't like to lose. And this is tough. I was in Paradise and I was on the ground within 20 hours. And it is a very emotional event. And then, you interact with the community, or you have a community member ask, can you check my home? And if you're in a position to be able to do that, there's nothing worse than letting somebody know that their home's not standing, or take a cell phone picture of a mailbox in front of a burned out house. The men and women on the fire line are staying focused on the job, and their job right now and their mission is make sure lives are saved, and then
Hmm.
make sure property is saved. We take this very, very personally, and what helps us the most is to know our community is behind us. We know that our elected leaders are behind us, and that's what keeps us going. And that is what is going to make the Palisades and Altadena and all these areas resilient. We stick together. We'll
Hmm.
figure out what went wrong. We'll correct those problems. But right now, the main focus is a community that lives there, get them safe, get the firefighters the things that they need to put the fire out, and support them. And for me, Godspeed to these communities, and the men and women,
Hmm.
the men and women on the front line. Just stay the course, and they're going to be at this without a break,
And
probably
they,
through late Saturday, maybe into Sunday.
as you said, without a break. And I do want to point out that they have saved so many lives just in the early hours of this when things were gridlocked, telling people get out of your cars and get away. So life-saving in the first few hours. Brian Rice, we will leave it there for now, but thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and good luck to all of you as you continue to face this catastrophe.
Thank you, and our communities are they're in our hearts. We're in this with you. Thank you.